All right, Nuggets fans, welcome into Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by good friends here at Mile High Sports and FanDuel. I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network, and I am here. I am ready to discuss the Denver Nuggets. Very excited for this episode as we react to Media Day. We react to everything that the Nuggets have been up to over the course of the past couple months, and it's been a lot of fun, I think, to just get back into the building and to fully appreciate that the season is right around the corner. I've been putting out, I don't know if you've seen this. If you haven't, I've been putting out some shorts content, trying to schedule some things, making sure that not just giving the podcast, not just getting the articles, also doing some shorts content. I have a TikTok now. It's crazy. So if you're interested, follow me on those platforms. I can drop down the links. I'll actually put the links down below for it's YouTube, it's Instagram, it's TikTok, and it is obviously Twitter, which you probably know me on. But if you are just listening to this and very interested in the Denver Nuggets, make sure to go follow those links as well on your favorite social media platform. That would be greatly appreciated. On today's episode, obviously Media Day was fantastic for the Nuggets. We'll get into why throughout this episode. Got some major takeaways for Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, as well as some things. I'm going to extend this content over the course of these next couple episodes as well. I'll be talking about Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown and the defense a little bit more consistently in the next episode. But for now, let's focus on Jokic and Murray. Let's focus on the new guys. And then let's talk about David Adelman, who I thought set a really great standard for Denver in this particular Media Day session. And I'm curious to see how that translates going forward. So it should be fun, should be exciting. I am definitely looking forward to it. But let's get into it. Let's talk about some of the important factors from Media Day. Let's start with the big fella, right? Let's start with Nikola Jokic. Let's start with the statement that he made, effectively reaffirming his commitment to the Denver Nuggets. Obviously, there were questions as to whether, what was the reason why he didn't sign his extension? The Nuggets had an opportunity to offer the contract. I asked Josh Kroenke about that contract earlier in the offseason. He says we will offer it, but we're not sure if he will accept it. Everybody seems on the same page regarding that. And Jokic reaffirmed that belief and the discussion over the course of this Media Day session. He doesn't like to talk about contract stuff, players don't like to do that often, but especially Jokic, he has never been very privy to that. But when asked about it by Bennett Durando, a good framing for the contract, for the discussion, Bennett Durando of the Denver Post, Jokic said, quote, "My plan is to be with the Nuggets forever. It is a sentiment that he has shared before. He has constantly committed to that sentiment. And look, there's no reason why he can't eventually go back on his word on something like that. This isn't something where, Nuggets fans are going to feel great about it until he actually were to leave. They would be much nicer, I think, for Nuggets fans if he were to just put pen to paper on a contract extension. But this is the next best thing. You're getting across the board commitments from Nikola Jokic. You had the front office be asked about it, Ben Tenzer and John Wallace. They both reaffirmed that they don't have any concerns. Dialogues have been good. The relationship is good, and that's the most important thing. Jokic wants to win. He wants to have a chance to win titles. He wants to be competitive. And if the Nuggets had not done what they have done this offseason, you might be hearing more actual whisperings of that. But that's not what we're getting right now. What we're getting, for the most part, is just Nikola Jokic being happy with the situation. And there's a pure financial incentive for him to wait the extra year, get another year of eligibility on that contract, go from 3 years to 4. And then it's a $280 million deal, I think, to something absurd like that, where the average number is 70 million. So I don't blame him, man. I don't blame him for waiting. I think that if it's in his financial interest, if he wants to continue to wait to put pressure on the organization and say, hey, I want to be here, but I also want you to want me to be here by continuing to put your best foot forward and doing what it takes to win, then more power to him. That's how you exercise your power as a player within the organization. And if you leave your options open, it forces the Nuggets to continuously put winning forward. Because again, I've talked about this before. They'll never get another player like Jokic. So you want to make sure that he is happy. And for all intents and purposes, he was glowing today. He was very, very happy. Recording this on Monday night, just in case you're curious. Obviously, this is getting uploaded Tuesday morning, the day after Media Day. But he was glowing, man. It was very interesting to see the perspective that he took. He was happy with me. I asked him the first question. It was very nice to get an actual answer to the question as opposed to the non-answer that he often likes to give me for that kind of an answer, which was basically, hey, you've been doing this for 10 years. This is your 11th year. Do you ever think back on how fast it has gone and how much time has elapsed? And he did. He said, and he has, I think, reiterated that he wants to think about his career at the end, but he wants to be able to look back on the entire thing. Just kind of wants to live in the moment right now, and I totally understand that. But it is important for a player with the legacy that he has, I think, to continuously try to think about what he means to the game and think about what he means to what he wants to accomplish in basketball and whether he has felt like he has accomplished it. He has more to give, obviously. He's still in a great place. The last questions that he answered, though, was, hey, do you think you'll still be at the top of your game or something like that? And he answered with the sentiment of, I don't know, brother. I guess we'll see. So he's in his 30s now, and I don't know how long he's going to be at the peak of his powers. I've estimated and talked about this before. A lot of people just assume it's going to be 4, 5, 6 years because he is a physical, ground-bound player who doesn't rely on athleticism. I think that's a little bit of malarkey, if I'm being honest. I think that everybody sort of lacks, and it's only if you are the only guy who was really that good that late into his career was LeBron. And if Jokic is still the best player in the world at 34, 35, I'll be surprised. So with that in mind, and that's not really, I don't think that's it's a horrible thing to say. I think it's just the reality of the situation and the fact that he's been the best player in the NBA for the better part of 5 years. You don't get that kind of run late into your mid 30s, into your late 30s. So hopefully Denver can continue to capitalize on that early, and we will see whether they can. I'm curious to see what happens with it. But he was in a great mood. He was joking with everybody. It was very good to see him in a good place. That's the most important thing. And it did feel like, it's one of the reasons why this was a perfect media day for Denver. A lot of pointing in the same direction. A lot of guys that are just one-track mind, focused on improving, focused on becoming the best team that they can be, not necessarily thinking about too much more than that. Really what they're doing is figuring out how they can do it and going back to the drawing board and figuring out what is necessary for them to look at. So it was a good session for Jokic, for a lot of other guys, but especially for Jamal Murray. I know he was a little terse, but the word around Jamal Murray, not necessarily from himself, because he doesn't really talk himself up that much, is that he had a great summer. David Adelman said that. John Wallace said that. The guys in the gym said that. Hunter Tyson said that. Spencer Jones said that. They were all very appreciative of the leadership and the time and the just the way that he comported himself through this offseason, being a good example, taking guys under his wing as one of the veteran leaders of the team, And that's exactly what you want. And it is one of the counters with Jokic is that Jokic goes over to Serbia. He plays on the Serbian national team. He likes to disconnect. He gets that right. Of course, he does. But for the Nuggets, for the rest of the team, and especially a lot of the guys that stay stateside, like you need somebody to coordinate you a little bit. You need somebody to kind of keep boots on the ground and making sure that everybody is doing the things that they're supposed to do. And so Jamal Murray led by example and was a vocal leader clearly this offseason. Getting guys into gyms, he was getting guys into Vegas in a good way, not the other way. He was doing a whole bunch, focusing on his body. He looked very good from a physical perspective, looked strong. The arm definitions coming in, and he had this focus about him. He wasn't joking that much. He wasn't like the standoffishness wasn't like from a place of defensiveness. He was more of the place of like, I am focused. I am ready to go. I am looking forward to this opportunity. I want to win a championship. I'm getting ready for November so that we can be great for the rest of the season. And I love that. I love that perspective. He has always been somebody that I've appreciated from the perspective of he doesn't look too far ahead. He goes about it a day at a time, a game at a time, and goes through the process and understands that it is a long journey. It is not something that you can look ahead to. And he made mention of that for the media, that it's part of our job to be able to project and to have to project and think about what's going on, not just now, but also later. But for the players, they kind of have that luxury, but they also kind of don't. The general managers and the front office, they get to look ahead. The coaching staff, they're mostly day-to-day, but they also have to have an eye for the future. The players have to do a job. Like they have to get the wins in the regular season in order to do the things that and like build the habits that they're supposed to do. And so it really does look like Jamal has taken that next step to do that now. So the sentiment around him is that he has done exactly what he's supposed to do. And I'm looking forward to it. I think that there is, oh man, do I want to predict this? Like predict this every year. there's a, I'm not going to do the all-star thing. That I think is unreasonable, but it's actually not that unreasonable because you think about where Denver is, you think about the structure that they have as a team. Aaron Gordon, and I'll talk about this on Thursday, said that he was very committed to defense, and that's what he's mostly focused on. Cam Johnson will obviously play a big factor offensively, but Jamal's going to score a lot of points. I actually do think that he is in line for a career year from a point scoring perspective. According to FanDuel, Jamal Murray is plus 120 to average 22 points per game this year. Now, he's never done it before, and so those odds aren't necessarily awesome if you actually want to do the right thing from a betting line perspective. But I think Vegas is kind of building in the idea, FanDuel's kind of building in the idea that he will take a leap, or there is an opportunity for him to continue to get better. The opportunities are there for him to continue to grow and step forward. So it's nice to see. I think that there is a good feeling around him and that the Nuggets can be really excited for what is to come with him. He is in a good place. I don't know whether it's going to hold up. He could get injured. Like the conditioning could fall into a bad place. Who knows? I don't necessarily subscribe to all that, but it does seem like he's very focused. He's very ready to go, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun year, I think. Okay, let's take a break. When we come back, we are going to discuss the new guys and getting to know some of these players, getting to talk to some of these guys, and some of the fun things we were able to share. We'll be right back here on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, we are back. Pickaxe and Roll. Thank you so much for tuning into the show, folks. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Would really, really, really appreciate it. Basically, my schedule going forward Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for this particular week, Denver's going to be playing a Saturday night preseason game. I'm not going to be reacting to that on this channel, but I will do a Monday morning podcast. And then we're going to get into full season. We're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Those are going to be our days for Pickaxe and Roll. It's going to be out at 10 a.m. like normal, maybe 11 depending on the day. I think that there's at least a little bit of flexibility with the Saturday because I'm going to do some stuff in studio for that particular day. So really looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun year. There's a lot that we have planned. There's a lot of exciting things that I can't wait to share. So got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm really looking forward to setting the table for that. But Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday this week, and then Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday going forward, unless specified differently based off of the Nuggets schedule. Okay. Next up, let's talk about the new guys. You've got Cam Johnson, you've got Bruce Brown, you've got Jonas Valanciunas, you have Tim Hardaway Jr. All four, I think, made positive impressions. All four seem like good guys. Jonas, I was very impressed with, and he was cracking jokes. He was comfortable. He knew he was going to have to answer for some of the Greece stuff that had popped up, and the wording that he got with that was that he's wanting to put all of that behind him. He's here. He's happy. That's what matters. If he wasn't happy, then he wouldn't be here, was the sentiment that he shared. It was actually, I think that's paraphrased quote. I'm not sure if I feel great about that phrasing, but I do think that it's clear that he's happy, that he wants to win a championship. He said on multiple occasions, he just wants to do whatever it takes to win. And that at this stage of his career, he doesn't have to worry about development. He doesn't have to worry about proving anything to anybody. Like, he is in his 14th season. He's already established. He's already stamped. Like, this is a guy who has been a borderline all-star contributor before. Not really ever at that level, but very close from a production standpoint on a consistent basis. When he's getting the opportunities with Memphis and with New Orleans, he was a guy that was a pretty consistent, like 18 and 12 or 20 and 12, like just getting up into that range. I want to make sure that I'm not crazy when I say that, but it does feel like he's had some pretty great years. Yeah. I mean, in Memphis, when he got traded from Toronto, he averaged 20 and 11. He got up to 18 then at that point, but again, he did have to share the floor with some other guys like a Zion Williamson, like a John Morant. And sometimes it is difficult to get the ball in those situations, but he's going to get the ball. David Adelman said that he's excited. He's a guy that he feels like he can feature in the post. Said that there are things that Jonas was not allowed to do in some of the other places around the NBA, the other spots that he's had, that he feels like he can get out of him a little bit. And it was an interesting quote from Adelman. I'm going to read this here. Can play second side. When Sabonis was out, he filled in and they ran their offense the exact same way. We're going to play through that guy. I have to push the limits of what he can do. I think there's things he wasn't allowed to do with other teams that he can do with us. A lot of that is the passing. A lot of that is the dribble handoff game. I'm curious what it looks like. I'm curious what it looks like from the offensive rebounding perspective. He's an elite offensive rebounder. He's somebody that has multiple skills on that end of the floor that should be able to translate to what the Nuggets are trying to do. And it does seem like Adelman is very clear about that. He also said that, and I asked him about this, that, hey, Nikola and Jonas might play together. Actually, he said, yes, they will play together. I have been hesitant in terms of declaring that it's going to happen, that this is going to be a consistent thing. But when you think about two-man duos, as somebody who has done that chart before, from Cleaning the Glass and just put those ratings out there, when you think about possessions, when you think about minutes, I don't think they're going to play more than 150 possessions, which is about 75 minutes. Maybe it gets up to 200 possessions, something like that. I don't think that this is going to be a thing that they do all the time, but it will be notable when they do. And most of the time, they will probably try to play some zone. They're probably not going to guard on the opposing side, and they're going to try to force the opposing team to have to match up with them. It'll be a matchup thing. It'll be interesting to see which teams they decide to deploy it against. Is that something that you would want to try against smaller teams and then just punishing them and trying to score every single possession down the floor? Or is that something you want to try to match up size-wise with bigger teams? Say, okay, Houston, Memphis, when they have healthy players again. OKC when they're playing double big with Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein, or Jalen Williams, big Jalen Williams. There's some teams that they can match up against and do it for sure. Whether it actually makes sense or not remains to be seen. I do think that Denver will be playing a lot of zone, and we'll talk about that in the third segment. But David Adelman definitely seems interested in experimenting with things like that. So hopefully Jonas has a good opportunity there. The other three guys, Cam Johnson just gets rave reviews from everybody. He basically called the perfect fit for what the Nuggets are looking for. Jamal Murray said he thinks that Cam Johnson could lead their team in scoring on some nights, kind of like Michael Porter. Although Mike sometimes struggled to get shots in part because he wasn't able to create the space needed for the open shot, whether it's within the flow of the offense or just getting off the dribble from a ball handling perspective. Cam Johnson, I don't think is going to have that issue. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do, whether it's going to be closer to Phoenix Suns Cam Johnson or Brooklyn Nets Cam Johnson. Maybe it's a hybrid of the two. The Nuggets will try to get the best of both worlds there. And whatever they do get will be a positive experience. Cam Johnson, for what it's worth, he made mention that he wants to play 77 plus games this year, as many as he can towards 82, because like he has had some health issues. He's had some absence issues. And he kind of made mention of the Brooklyn stint last year where he only played, I think, 57 games. He said one of those was because like the last play of the game against a team, like I think he said it was Milwaukee. He rolled his ankle. He had a sprained ankle, and then it had him sit out for a significant period of time. I have said this for a while. I think he's going to play a lot of games for Denver. I think that this is one of those situations where as long as he stays, like as long as it's not a freak injury, I do not think that he's a guy that has these recurring, consistent injuries and is just like in a really bad place. I think he is a player, especially in his physical prime here, where he's ready to go. He's ready to go for the long haul. He's excited for that. And playing for a championship contender again, I think that he really feels the obligation to get out there as much as possible. So hopefully it's closer to 70. Hopefully it's not a situation where he's playing 55 games. Denver would have to make up a lot of difference if that was the case. So I'm curious to see whether they could stay healthy. That's, of course, the big key when it comes to long-term expectations for a team. Is your team going to be fully healthy? Are they going to be whole at that point? So we'll see. And then Tim Hardaway Jr. and Bruce Brown did their media together. They have some good chemistry. Those guys came in on 1-year matching minimum deals and clearly both happy to be here. Clearly I think Bruce probably has some level of expectations for what his role is going to end up being. I'm not sure if Tim Hardaway actually does. He might. Like, he might have been told, hey, this is what we believe in, like what we think you're going to do. This is what we expect. This is what we're going to try to give to you at the beginning. But beyond that, he's signed for a minimum contract. I think he knows the drill. This is a team that has championship aspirations and has a starting lineup that is filled. He may not play on a consistent basis. And frankly, Bruce Brown, there's an outside chance that he doesn't play on a consistent basis, depending on what happens with Jalen Pickett, what happens with Julian Strawther, what happens with Peyton Watson, and whether Denver has those young guys in the sights for extra playing time. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I really do think that Denver's going to trend more veteran for much of the year. But If David Adelman and the Nuggets are serious about development, if they are serious about getting through the regular season without those injuries, then they're going to have to open up the rotation a little bit. So no matter what, I think Tim Hardaway is going to play about 18 minutes a night, 20 minutes a night, somewhere in that general range. Bruce Brown will probably be higher than that, probably closer to like 24 minutes per game. But we'll see. We're going to see. And Bruce was, it was a funny one. Bruce was asked, when did you find out that the Nuggets were actually interested in you? He said, on my way to Cherry Creek Country Club. Like, he's flying back to Denver, man. He was on his way back to Denver via plane when he got the call or got the text from his agency saying, yeah, Denver's interested. So he's wanted to be back. And the stories that he's saying is basically, yeah, I've wanted to be back for 2 years, wanted to be back for this entire time. And so great to see. Great opportunity, I think, for Denver to seriously fully lock in here with a guy that they love. And I think Bruce is happy to be back. Tim Hardaway, he was waxing poetic a lot of the time on Nikola Jokic and the Nugget style of offense and the expectations that he has, just wanting to win. So everybody, again, they're saying the right things. The new guys, they're veterans. They know what they're supposed to do. Bruce Brown especially, I think, knows how to connect with the Nuggets audience. And it is pretty clear that those guys know what they're doing. We will see what it ultimately looks like going forward. But I think that this team is in line for, again, as long as they stay healthy, I think they're in line for a big year. According to FanDuel, the Nuggets odds for 55 plus wins are up to plus 100, which is basically even at this point. It seems to be trending higher. The Nuggets are now basically 50-50 to win 55 games, according to the odds makers. It started, I think, at 52.5. It's now moved up to 53.5. Then it's moved up to 54.5. And I think that Vegas and bettors and everybody around is kind of getting that sense that, yeah, this is a team that is going to perform. David Adelman also, and we'll talk about this in the next segment, but he talked about wanting to win via blowout. He talked about wanting to win consistently and with the bench minutes and not just with the starters. And it's when you get both of those things at the same time that you can start really stringing together big time seasons. So I'm curious to see what they give, curious to see what it looks like. When we come back, we're going to talk about David Adelman. He said a lot of very exciting stuff. I'm going to share some of those sentiments, some of those paraphrases here on Pickaxe and Roll. All right, final segment, Pickaxe and Roll. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, folks. Hit that subscribe button. Would really, really appreciate it. Okay. The Nuggets are, as I said prior to the segment, they're in a great spot. They really are in a great spot. And the Nuggets are going to be one of these teams, I think, that is going to feel a lot different entering the year than a lot of people expect. And one of the reasons for that is David Adelman, who I think is a little bit underrated by most around the NBA because he's a new head coach. He's somebody that not a lot of people know. Obviously, they know, okay, the Nuggets changed coaches. They fired Michael Malone. He's been there for 10 years. What are they going to do? Oh, they just hired the assistant. Is that really a good idea? Don't often hire the assistants, the interim head coaches. That seems like something that doesn't often work out. I think it will. I think David Adelman is the right guy for this. He shared a lot of different sentiments from his 25 or so minutes that he did media. It was pretty impressive. This was quite the showing from him, and good showing from the media as well to get as many questions asked as possible. But also, Adelman was very willing and able to answer those questions in a detailed manner and seems very excited about the prospect of really getting going here. And obviously, first-time head coach, last 3 games of the regular season last year and the playoffs notwithstanding, he is, I think, the right guy for the job. And I think there's a lot of reasons why. First, relationship with the front office is clearly good. He said, quote, the front office killed it. He believes in what the front office has done. They've worked closely together on this. That was something that was shared previously, that whether it was Tenzer and Wallace or if it was Josh Kroenke, David Adelman has been proximal to these talks and has had his opinion be sussed out and basically said, okay, what do you want, coach? What do you need? We're going to do what we can to get that. And it seems like the front office has done exactly that. So Adelman is, of course, happy with that. He's got the tools in the toolbox that Michael Malone did not. Next, talk about the bench minutes. You said basically, quote, we have to improve the bench minutes, and it doesn't have to be Jamal Murray all the time. That was one thing that last year, and basically for the entire Michael Malone tenure, and with David Adelman there as well, it's a pattern that the Nuggets have fallen into for a long time. That basically said, Nikola Jokic is going to play the primary first and third quarter minutes, and then the second starter, Jamal Murray, is going to play the other minutes. He's going to be like, he's the second best player on the team. We're going to get him out there. They've tried things other than that before. Last year, it did not work. Part of that was because Dario Saric and the rest of the bench was just pretty shaky. Like, you've got DeAndre Jordan or Zeke Naji out there on a consistent basis. You're experimenting with Vlatko Čančar, Hunter Tyson, Jalen Pickett's still trying to figure some things out. Julian Strawther's learning. Peyton Watson's still learning. Like, it was kind of a mess. And so Denver, and of course Russell Westbrook, who is currently not signed right now, was the leader of last year's bench. So Denver had a lot of issues, and I'm glad that glad that David Adelman is taking this tone with the bench, basically saying, whatever it is, we got to work from the ground up with it. Building out lineups, building out consistent combinations, players that fit well with each other, whether it's guys that work well with Jonas Valanciunas, who's again going to be a featured member of that group, or if it's a guy that works well with Tim Hardaway Jr. And he's talking about starters. He's talking about players that can blend that group together. And he wants one guy to do it, but it might be 2 at various points. It might be 0 at various points, depending on where the Nuggets are at in their season, who they're facing, what the lineups call for, things like that. I would go out on a limb and say that he would be interested in having Cam Johnson be the stagger guy, because he saw a lot of the improvements that he made, Cam Johnson did, in Brooklyn as a ball handler, as a creator, but also as a smart, high IQ spacer who's versatile and can fit with a variety of different groups. That's the idea with like Aaron Gordon and KCP in previous seasons. Those guys are pretty malleable. Those guys don't necessarily have to have the lineup comport to them. They can shift and mold their game to the lineup. And that's great. That's what you want with really good players, but also with a bench unit where, yeah, Jonas Valanciunas is probably going to play, but Jalen Pickett might play. Bruce Brown will probably play. Tim Hardaway will probably play. Julian Strawther, Peyton Watson, Deron Holmes, Zeke Naji, Hunter Tyson, like all of these guys might get options, might get opportunities at various points. And Jamal Murray may not be the right person, even if I do think he's going to have a great year. And I do think that. He may not be the right person to mold all of that together, to make sure that all of that is balanced out. He might be. We don't know. That's what David Adelman is looking to find out. But at least leaving open the possibility that it is somebody else and that it might be Cam Johnson, I think is important, because they need Cam Johnson's spacing in there, but they also need his size. They also need his high IQ. They also need his shooting. They also need his playmaking. And it's a good thing because he provides all of those. He's a jack of all trades in a lot of different categories, but he's also a plus shooter. So that will always work in these lineups. And I'm curious to see what they decide to do as a result. Other things that David Adelman has said, and then we'll get out of here. He basically has said there has to be a buy-in, but that's easier said than done. You actually have to want to sacrifice in order to win. And that's a really important sentiment because it's very similar to what Michael Malone used to say before the Nuggets won their championship. Back in 2022, the common phrase was don't talk about it, be about it. Don't talk about buying in and sacrificing and win like, in order to win, and you don't necessarily have to play or you don't have to get as many touches, yada, yada, yada. Who cares? What happens if that actually is occurring? What happens if 20 games into the season, you're averaging 6 points when you thought you were going to average 12? What happens if you're going to average 12 minutes a game when you thought you were going to average 20? Like, there are potential opportunities for that with a lot of guys. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to be willing and able to sacrifice? Are you going to be willing and able to earn more time based off of trying on the defensive end? Jalen Pickett, for example, he talked about how the coaches want him to start picking up 94 feet. That's going to involve improving the conditioning and improving the mentality and not always playing on your heels, but also kind of being proactive. If the Nuggets are going to go about it that way, they're going to have to use a lot of guys. But what that means is that guys' individual minute totals may actually be lower. And you want that. You want that throughout the season. You'd rather play 11 to 12 guys on a consistent basis where the top player in Jokic averages about 30 minutes per game, as opposed to 8 to 9 guys where Jokic is averaging 36, 37, getting up into these crooked numbers that really tire you out. So it's a good sentiment. We'll see what it looks like. We'll see if Denver can actually put those lineups together. But again, kind of the energy, I mean, it's media day, so you never want to fully overreact. But I did hear what I wanted to hear. I did hear what I think is important to hear. And there's a lot of great sentiments here. They're going to experiment with more zone. We talked about that a little bit, but also some other potential defensive coverages. Jared Dudley is going to be Denver's defensive coordinator, and JJ Barea will be helping out David Adelman with the offensive side of things. But Jared Dudley was brought in to be a defensive guy, to be the defensive option. Ryan Saunders in years past was the defensive guy, and I think it was let slip. I wonder if it was Christian Brown. It was somebody. I was talking about, Jared Dudley, not Jared Allen. Jared Dudley was talking about making some changes and trying to implement some changes and doing some different things. I wonder what those things are. I wonder what kind of coverages the Nuggets will be running. What percentage of time are they actually going to go zone? Is that something that they feel comfortable enough doing? Or are they going to play less aggressive? Are they going to go with a drop coverage? Are they going to go with switching? I don't know. We'll have to find out. But whatever you do on the defensive end, it is more about want to and buy-in and a desire to help your teammate, but also do your responsibility and do the things that you're being asked to do within whatever scheme that is. It is about being proactive on the defensive end, not letting go of defensive assignments. Like you have to read the scouting reports. Are the players actually going to do that this time? Are they going, because you can say all the right things about how you're going to change defensive coverages, but if the players, if the coaches, if the attention to detail is not paid, and if the Nuggets are not really following through on that, then that's another form of championship habits that kind of fall down the wayside. So I think that they will. I'm getting pretty excited about it, and there's plenty of opportunity to continue to talk about it. The sense of urgency is real. The sense of urgency does seem like it is there for this team. Feels like they have been reinvigorated a little bit by some of the moves that have been made. The veterans come in. They know exactly what the job is. And feels like Jamal Murray has set the tone in a lot of ways. So really cool to see. Really cool to see Jamal kind of go from not a casual guy, but more of a comfortable kind of worrying about himself kind of leader to now being very proactive with it and being not just a talking leader, but somebody who is leading by example. So I think Denver's in a good place. This is a really good spot for them to be in. And now we look to training camp. I will not be there. I'm here in Denver, but we'll be communicating with those folks in San Diego and very excited to hear some of the reporting that comes out of there. It's going to be good. Really looking forward to it, folks. All right. That is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends here at Mile High Sports. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on the way out. I will talk to you guys on Thursday.